I did play sax for about 10 years, but
Wow.
first instrument is
Even know
always,
that.
I think. Yeah, I did.
I've known you for 50. How did I not know you played
I
saxophone?
have an alto sax in my closet.
Please put some saxophone in our songs from now on. Thank you. Sorry.
um,
That's what I love about these interviews when it's people that have known each other for a long time. They're like, "Wait, what?
yeah.
I didn't know that you did this."
You will hear a sax on our next release.
Bringin It Backwards.
Hey, y'all.
What's up, Vinnie? How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Welcome to the band.
Fantastic.
The most eye bags you'll ever see.
Well, I appreciate both of you doing this. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Vinny, I'm Adam, and this is about the two of you and your journeys in music, and then we'll talk about the project and the EP and everything else you have coming up. So let's just start off. We'll start off with you, Vinny. So, where were you born and raised? Were you born and raised in LA?
Yeah, I was born and raised in the Valley.
Okay. And did you come from like a musical family at all, or?
I grew up surrounded by music. My parents both played music. They were hobbyists though. Like they both had jobs. So my dad always played in like cover bands and stuff like that. My mom always sang, but they all had like 9 to 5s.
Okay.
His dad's
And
rad, by the way. I've seen him jam. He's got that like
good.
70s swagger to him.
Did you
He
ever see
had
him
like
play
a
like his cover band?
yeah. I think Nick, you've been to maybe you've been to shows
I feel like we
before.
all jumped up with him once,
That's possible as well.
Brad. So yeah, I would say you've been surrounded by some pretty cool cats.
That's amazing.
I grew up with a lot of uncles that all played music, and it was one of those things where if I wanted to play an instrument, it was very nurtured. So like if I was like I want to play saxophone, I was like here's a sax, or I want to play drums. There was like not here's a drum pad, it's here's a drum kit. So
Wow.
it was a very nurturing upbringing in that regard.
Where did you start as far as instruments go? Did you play saxophone or is that just an
I did
example you
play
threw out?
saxophone, yeah.
Okay.
I did play sax for about 10 years, but
Wow.
first instrument is
Even know
always, I
that.
think. Yeah, I did.
I've known you for 50. How did I not know you played
I
saxophone?
have an alto sax in my closet.
Please put some saxophone in our songs from now on. Thank you. Sorry.
um,
That's what I love about these interviews when it's people that have known each other for a long time. They're like, "Wait, what?
yeah.
I didn't know that you did this."
You will hear a sax on our next release.
I love it.
Um, I started, I think, like every kid does, just banging on stuff. So drums was definitely like the first instrument that I felt like I could articulate, and then guitar, and then my dad was a bassist, so I played bass after that.
Right. Very, very cool. And Nick, what about you? I know obviously you come from a musical household. I actually had your sister on my
Yeah, I
podcast like
remember.
3
I
years
saw that.
ago. Yeah, it's been a while. What was interesting about her story was I asked her, I was like, "Oh, you came from a musical household. That must have been a pretty big influence on you." She's like, "Well, not at all, actually. It was like Disney musicals and and stuff like that
Oh,
that got her
um,
singing." So, I'm curious to see if, your dad's band or him in general had an influence on you as a
well,
early on into music.
first of all, the Disney musical thing is absolutely true because she used to annoy the shit out of me. Can I swear on this podcast?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
you can.
I used
Of
to
course, you can swear.
used to annoy the shit out of me every morning before school because I would wake up to her singing basically Disney show tunes, and so I I would be the one yelling "shut up" from like across the hall in my childhood bedroom. So uh, clearly, I was wrong about that because she's killing it. So
Yeah.
did not shut up. She should keep going. Um, but yeah, I don't. It's funny because Dad had an office in the house, but he never had a proper studio. He always went into the studio.
Mm,
Was always renting. Like he kind of left. He liked having an engineer. He's not a gearhead in the traditional sense. I think he's a gearhead compared to normal people, but
mhm.
he liked he's like a tape player to record himself and like just do ideas, and then he would bring that in. So in terms of what was pushed on us, not really. It's funny because my mom had as much of an influence on young us as he did because we're insulated from what he means in culture or whatever. So really, we're
Mhm.
just at home experiencing them as parents. And my mom was always singing, and she actually has a great singing voice. She's never wanted to pursue it, but she has this sort of beautiful like tone to her singing voice. So me, her, and Soph would always be singing in the car, just karaoke style and whatever. And it just kind of her casually singing in the kitchen had like great vibrato and like smoky tone and whatever. So I just thought that's how people were, like, oh, that's part of being a person. You sing and then you sound like this when you sing.
He was
Everybody's
great
like,
at it.
not
Yeah.
everybody sounds like her when they sing in the car. And so I glommed on to singing specifically, not just as like a, oh, I want to be front and center or whatever. When I got obsessed with singing, it was like I got into Chris Cornell first, was the first singer that really made me want to sing well. And he's still probably one of the major influences, because he's like the first rock singer I saw who like cared about the craft, not just as a guy who plays guitar and I guess I'll sing. He
Mhm.
seemed to try to be a better singer in the same way that people try to be a better guitarist or try to be a better pianist. He worked on vibrato, and he clearly did scales and stuff. So I wanted to be a singer like that. And then I got into like Robert Plant, The Doors, like all these people with a kind of very strong singer figures. I wanted to be a singer that, and I was not. If we were on a show back in the day, and you'll see my shitty rock band on there if you go back and look at it. I was like 16, and I was not a particularly good singer for quite a while. But I really have been working on it, because I idolize these guys who really have chops, not just attitude and vibe, but like traditional singing chops with range and tone and all that sort of thing. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
Mom,
mean,
weirdly, it was Mom actually who got me.
wow.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because the songs that you guys have out are awesome. I was telling Nick off camera or before you got on, Vinny, but like your vocal on there, Nick, is insane.
Thank you.
Like it's so
Thank you.
good. Like, and I don't want to insult you, and I don't know if this is, but like when I hear it, I'm like thinking like, alt J, or like a
Oh,
vocals like
that's
that,
very
or
nice.
like, yeah, or like the maybe like a third or fourth Portugal the Man record. I don't know, like it, like your voice, or not Portugal the Man. Well, kind of them, but who's the other band I was just thinking of?
What's the second one you said? Sorry, I was trying to
Uh,
give
there
compliments.
was Alt J, and then I had one and I just spaced off
Well,
the
Alt is a
name.
huge compliment. I actually love bands like that. I mean, Vinny and I both love. It's funny because I have a very deep voice, but Vinny and I both gravitate towards bands with very falsetto-y, kind of ghostly singers. So Alt J definitely counts. We both love Bon Iver,
Oh, okay. I was like Glass
Radiohead,
Animals is who I was
and
totally
and
blanking on.
Vinny's the one that first showed me the Glass Animals. Yes, I
Yeah,
love
like
them.
the record that had Gooey on it, like that kind of
That's
has that.
my favorite song. Yeah, absolutely. That's very sweet. Thank you. It sounds like we nailed our thing. But Vinny's the one who first turned me on to Jeff Buckley,
Oh, okay, love him.
and that's a huge, like, that's that record, like so many other people on earth, changed the game for us, I think, because I just didn't know you were allowed to sing. I came from the 90s. We grew up with a lot of like scratchy voice singers in the Kurt Cobain era.
Yeah.
And I heard, some these new artists like James Blake, Moses Sumney, Rye X, and then Vinny's like, oh, they all kind of, you can trace this style back to Jeff Buckley and a lot of guys like that. And I go like, I just didn't realize you're allowed to go into your head voice on purpose and kind of make this sort of eerie thing. Also, it just didn't. No one teaches you that that's part of your repertoire as a male singer unless you hear artists like that. So then I was like, oh, I want to do that. That sounds really cool and really unexpected. So,
Mhm. Yeah, it's mainly you think of like, yeah, like the heavier, like like voice.
yeah, you hear
That
male singer, and you think pushing, and then you
right.
don't like now. There's a lot of artists now that are doing this sort of very whispery. It's almost like male Billie Eilish singing, and I don't know why I gravitate towards it, because it's clearly, you hear me speak, it's clearly different than
Mhm.
natural
Yeah,
thing. But I was
it
like, I want to get good at that, because you can create such interesting, weird soundscapes with that, and it suits Vinny's production style so well. So I try to go in and out of it. And those are a little bit of our thing. It's just clearly not what people expect from me in particular.
sure. I was wondering, I'm gonna get to this later about why you guys kind of kept it uh like secret, so to speak, for so long. But because it wasn't that pretty recently that you came out and said, hey, this is
Yesterday.
project we've been, or it
Yesterday.
was yesterday. I was gonna say I just saw the Instagram post. I'm like, I hope I'm not like totally off on the time here, but
Great timing, actually.
okay. um, but just to rewind just real quick for you, Vinny. Like, were you in bands and stuff before meeting Nick, and then I kind of want to hear
I,
about how you two met.
I met Nick when I was doing my own artist project, and I
Okay.
think we kind of instantly realized that like we liked a lot of similar music, but then also liked very different music, and then we kind of bridged the gap with that common ground. And I was always the band leader in my projects, so like the
Hmm.
person that was kind of leading it, and as I do now, called musical directing. And Nick needed a kind of a partner to realize the music he was interested in making, and so we did that together for a while. And then we were always bringing in musicians and drummers and guitar players and all these other people to subsidize where either of us fell off in terms of instrument like ability.
Hmm.
And then we just decided to try writing without anyone else around, and then we were like, oh, this is a thing, and this
Hmm.
comes a lot more naturally, a lot more efficient, and we end up liking the finished product better, and so do others. So that's kind of how we fell into doing music together.
Okay, so you guys started off like
Also,
as
I want
a.
to.
Oh,
He's right.
sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's lagging
No,
out.
no, no, no. Go ahead, Nick.
I have a trouble with interrupting people, so feel free to shut me up at any point.
No, no, no. Feel free
Uh,
to shut me up whenever you want.
so Vinny drawing a point that I want to emphasize is that he, at first he was helping me do my band, like, I was just doing a straightforward rock band back in the day. And I think it only turned the corner when it became less about what I wanted to do and more about a half and half vision.
Mm.
That's when we both were like, let's, instead of doing my project that you're helping me with, let's do our what do our sounds sound like when we combine them. And then we were like, oh, this is better. This is way better.
And
It's
equally
yeah,
in parts on my end as well, because it was almost like I kind of stopped doing my own music around the same time we realized that this was better as a partnership. Like there
yeah.
are things that I lacked in that Nick made up for, and vice versa, and especially in the early days. And that's what I feel like made sense. We're like, okay, cool, this is what's been missing.
Vinny just has excellent taste, and he influenced my taste over the years. I mean, he just, I feel like I was in that the type of person that for a while in your adolescence, I feel like you have to pick a genre,
100%.
and then that's your
100%.
club that you belong to. Like I remember, it's less so now, honestly. This is like one of the weirdly good things about the streaming world is that I feel like people are less peer pressure to just pick a lane. You can just like everything. You can just like whatever you
Right. And you
hear.
see
But
that with the like festival lineups and everything
yeah,
nowadays, right? I
but
mean,
I
before it was like
remember in
you
my
gotta like
team,
punk, that's it. Or you
yeah,
like rock, or that's it.
in
How
my
dare
team,
you
it was
listen
like
to
that.
another record.
It was part of your identity, and if I was a rock kid, you're not into this, and like it was like this sort of clique, you were in. And
Hmm.
now Vinny was like, why don't you just not worry about that and just like, so I got to bring my more the stuff I was into that I didn't talk about as much to the table because Vinny made it okay, because he was like, I'm into all this weird shit, look at this, and he showed me Jeff Buckley, and Jeff Buckley, and Beck and these artists from, a little bit before this movement of just eclectic taste, they were already eclectic. I mean, Jeff Buckley's record has like basically an opera track on it,
Hmm.
rock and roll track, and ballads. And I think he covered Leonard Cohen, and he
Leonard
covered,
Cohen, that's like
I think he
insane.
covered, who did he cover? Nina Simone, I think he covered, and yeah, maybe. Anyway,
Lilac
but he
one.
just got all these are his influences, right? He's not just an alt rock guy from the '90s. He's
Hmm.
clearly he's got this breadth of stuff that he wants to incorporate into his sound, and then it became that Grace record, which is so great. And I was like, oh, and Vinny was like, yeah, we could do this. You're allowed to do this. Like you're allowed to bring whatever you want. And I go, oh, and then it got better, I think, in my opinion.
No, that's so funny that you said that though. But yeah, that's so true. I'm a little bit older than you just based off of the internet, but told me your age. Uh, it is. It's like you had to like if you liked Green Day and you liked Rancid and you could only like these bands, but God forbid you brought a Jeff Buckley CD out, or if somebody was at your house, you're
So
like
like
hiding it. You
Fiona
know what I
Apple,
mean?
or
Yeah, yeah,
Fiona
right.
Apple. Fiona Apple was like a secret. I was like, oh, Fiona Apple's awesome, but I'm not going to like mention that. I'm going to mention Nirvana and Zeppelin and cool shit like that. I'm not going to talk about how I love that Fiona Apple record, but now I do, because no, who cares? It was just this sort of weird, unspoken peer pressure when we were in high school, and I'm glad it's gone. I think the new generation that is happening now has it correct. You can, whatever hits your ear should be what you like. And I don't think any kid cares about that now.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. Yeah, and you can, like I said, you can see that with the lineups, and you'll have like a Lady Gaga, and then down like a Pucifer, somebody like that. You're like, "Wait, okay, these don't
and even
align," but
within band, you're seeing so many band, like Alt J is a great example. That's a very strange, eclectic collection of sounds.
Mhm.
And Vinny's one of favorite artists that he brought to the table that I now love is Jim James. I mean,
Oh
not one
yeah.
of the guy's solo records sounds alike, and who cares? It's great.
So Vinny, you started helping Nick out with the rock band. Well, that wasn't the same rock band from high school, was it? Or just like more like later down the
I don't
line,
even know
or
if you really had a rock band in high school, did
It
you?
did it never materialized. Like there was one that we played on that stupid show,
yeah.
but like, I think that we threw that together fast so that we could film something. And
Okay.
it never lasted. Like none of those ever lasted. We played for fun as much as possible, and it kind of all drifted away. This is the only project that actually seemed to have an identity right away. I
And
was just eager to
Nick
play.
used
I
to
wanted
get
to
up and
jam.
sing. He used to get up and sing with my band. We even like would do a song or two together at like a lot of my shows, and we would also always get up and like with house bands and stuff like that and sing as well in
There were a
LA.
Okay.
lot. There were a lot of really. We got very lucky with. Excuse me. We found these jam sessions that were happening kind of around LA. There was a magical 3 or 4 year period um, where there was these jam sessions in Hollywood. There was Bardot had this thing called the Bardot Sessions, which
Mhm.
eventually became a club called the Sayers Club that our friends ran and we helped open. And
Oh
the
wow,
people,
I've heard of that place.
so like that, yeah, it used to be the true speakeasy where it was behind a Papaya King, where if you know kind of thing.
Oh,
And it
interesting.
became, I think it came under new ownership, and it became this sort of just on the street club. But there was like a magic 2 or 3 years where unbelievable people we would sing there. Vinny and I would perform there almost every Thursday night for like the sessions, and it was run by this guy named Jason Scopa. And I was eager to jump up and just do. I didn't care. We were doing covers, whatever. And I would open for one of our old friends who's now a massive artist named LP. And
Oh yeah, I've had LP on as well.
LP and
So
I and
great.
2 or 3 other people were the every week singers at this club. Like
No
this.
way.
Yeah. So, and LP obviously brought the house down every time. So we always put her last.
Yeah, I was gonna say LP's
And whenever I
incredible.
had to, whenever I had to follow her, I was like, ah, fuck. Like this is, she's got, this Geddy Lee scream. And she used to cover So Real by Jeff Buckley there.
Oh
And
wow, I didn't know that.
way up there. And I was like, oh shit. And I could not, I mean, I was a singer then, and I'm still not as good a singer as LP. So I was like, ah, fuck, here we go. But there's a couple people who like went from those sessions and became successful after that. There's a couple names that were just part of our gang. And, uh, and Prince did a show there, and fucking
Gee.
the Black Keys jumped up, Slash, Steven Tyler jumped up just because they came and they saw it and they were like, get up here. It was very like, you know,
Yeah, like, oh
casual.
wow, something's happening. Like what?
Oh
And
yeah.
because
And
all those
Vinny and
people
I
just love to play and they love to perform. They don't give a shit if it's
and it
to
was
their
so
crowd or
private and it was so in the
yeah.
back that these people kind of felt comfortable. And Vinny and I were kind of looking at each other like, oh, this is a thing. Like and, and we're not getting paid and we don't care. And
Right.
it's like happy to be there. But yeah, so there was like 2 or 3 years there where that place was like the shit. And if you knew, you knew. And it was like singer boot camp, because if you can get those people to clap, you can get anybody to clap. So
Mhm.
we just jammed there almost every week. And um, I slowly got better. So I think I was shitty at the beginning of that and got a little better by the end of it.
I was gonna say because now your voice is incredible. Like
Very
I said on
nice.
those recordings, I love it.
Compliment.
It really, dude, it does. It sounds. I mean, I'm curious, really, actually, with just to ask you because I think Vinny had to run for a second, but um, so why keep the project like a without kind of backing it yourself, like you're under your name or being like, hey, like it's Nick and it's Vinny and this is our project. Like, why'd you keep it kind of on a hush for 5 years?
I think early on we were concerned about like people not just listening to it for the music, you know, and having this ability to know, at least for ourselves, that people were just listening because they thought it was good and not because it was colored by any other influence. I think that was a heavy like kickoff to the idea. I think
I
on
think
my
that's
end too,
brilliant, though.
for a while, it was also fear, you know, like I had worked for so long making my own music and putting myself out there, and it didn't get as far as I wanted it to. So I
Hmm.
think there was also fear of like, if I put myself out there fully, there's like a risk and a
Risk of
vulnerability to it, you
rejection or
know?
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all feel that, I think. Like that's basic human shit.
Yeah.
Um, we also like, I mean, Vinny and I were just kind of burnt out. I mean, I feel like I forget when I talk about this. I think this is now not just a me experience. I think this is a pretty universal experience. I think everyone's a little burnt out on exposure. I mean, I feel like I just experienced it a little bit earlier than everybody else because I was on a TV show that purported to follow my life around.
Well,
But
you and
everybody
in
feels like this
sense,
now.
like you've had the spotlight on you. I'm sure you're since you're a little baby,
Kinda, and
right?
like
I
I'm
mean,
not even that compared to other people in my position. I'm not even that visible, but it was a lot for me. I mean,
yeah,
it was
yeah, I
enough.
bet.
And you know, it's like, oh, the Smith kids are acting real weird. I'm like, of course they are. They're probably going insane because who- they'll positive or negative, even when the attention is all positive. What I mean, like Britney shaves her head, and I was like, I get it. If I was that famous, I would shave my head. Like that is
Right.
crazy. I got this much attention compared to actual famous people, and I felt insane.
Yeah.
So and then I realized like, oh, that's kind of now how everyone feels on social media. Everyone is kind of in their own little reality show. And
Mhm.
now it didn't happen if you didn't post it and whatever. And Vinny and I were like, what if this thing we do that we love, that right now only we know about, what if this was just like the safest, most awesome thing where we didn't have to expose anything? We could just like, I like to say we turned ourselves inside out. So we led with the insides first instead of the outsides, like starfish when they eat. You know, we
Oh
were just,
yeah.
oh, uh let's not expose our faces or any sort of normal facts about us, but let's expose our innermost workings with, lyrics about super personal shit and, songs that we really care about. Let's just put that part out there. And, if nobody cares, nobody cares. And we'll just keep making it for our own pleasure. We've always been jamming together. That's not
Mhm.
going to change. And if somebody cares, then maybe we'll try it for real. And I think the response kind of surprised us.
Mhm.
Pretty soon after that. We got signed by sending in a demo blind through a manager to this.
That's wild.
Manager was like, I know these guys, and Vinny's like, oh, I'm aware of these guys. The Ian McEvily and Marc Jordan of Rebel One, which are now called State of the Art Records.
Okay.
I think they're with Chapel Rowan actually now, right? I think that's
Yeah,
their
they have
big
Chapel
artist.
Run.
Wow.
They signed us for the first EP, and they signed us just based on the demos we sent in. We met them for the first time we met them and showed face to face was after they had already signed us. And so we walked in, and then they were like, Vinny, I know you. And Vinny had already met Ian through his job at the Beehive. And then Mark was like, you're from that show. And then Vinny was like, that's exactly what I was avoiding.
That's so
Like
rad.
he was
I
like,
love
I'm
that.
so glad we did it this way. Like I'm so glad you didn't know that because we never would have known if the reason they said yes was because they saw some sort of small opportunity with whatever
Yeah.
business we had, or if they actually liked the stuff. So in this way, we knew 100% that the only reason they wanted us was because of the stuff. So that felt
That's
pretty good.
so cool. No, that's huge. That's amazing. I remember when I was talking to your sister as well, she said she was getting all out of her writing things just through Instagram DMs. Like people would DM her to write with them. And it wasn't like, hey, this is Gene Simmons. It
Oh, I
was
want to give
just,
Sophie props because I mean, first of all, she's now a proper powerhouse songwriter. I mean, she's an in-demand person in the business. And
she's
I
written
think
some
a
huge
lot of people
hits.
look at her. I don't think I want to claim that anything about this project is me kind of pulling myself up by my bootstraps. I think that's a myth, frankly, because even though I didn't lead with my big stupid face, in public, I have the time to do this. I'm not in debt. Like I grew up in a very cushy thing. So that's not why we did this. We just wanted to know if people liked the stuff in a vacuum. It was not about proving something. I'm in
Sure.
an incredibly lucky, privileged position, and I'm not I don't think anybody wants to say I'm not. I think we're all pretty sick of those people who are like, no, it's all me. It's like, no, dude, you know, your dad is on Wall Street. You're fine. Like,
Right.
even just your daily life being a little easier helps you make a creative project. You have the mental time and space. But Sophie, I think in the world she was entering, she kind of had to prove it twice. She, you know, she would get in the room based on her representative knowing she has the chops, and then in the room they would know who she is or figure it out, and then go, got it. That's why she's in this room, just because of that. And so the songwriters who had clawed their way out of obscurity with their talent would write her off, and so then she would have to prove it again in the room that she actually had songwriting chops, because they've met a bunch of sons and daughters of in those sessions, and they're burnt out on it. They're like, oh God, another one of these, you know.
Right.
And the thing about Soph is she actually does have the chops. She's written hit songs for people without them knowing, and the songs work. The songs do not advertise her when they go, you know, when they have millions of streams. They just go or they don't. And so over and over again, she had to go like, no, I'm not just here because of that. I'm actually good at this. Watch, I'll show you. And she had to do that
Yeah.
a million times in a row. But I think her much more than me, she had to prove it over and over again that it was more of a hindrance to those sessions than it was to me in my life, I think.
That's
So
fascinating.
sorry, I didn't mean to derail about her stuff, but I wanted
No,
to
no,
give.
no, no, no. I was just that it makes sense. But also she wasn't. It wasn't. I didn't know that part of it. I mean, she didn't go into that aspect of it. But that's
Sessions
that's
every day,
such a
every
great
day of her
point,
life,
right?
and they all look at her and they go, "Oh, everyone
That's
else is
why
here
you're
for a
here.
reason, and that's why you're here, clearly." And
Right,
go like,
right.
whatever. And then she had to go, "All right, I better nail it," because I'd be like, "Yeah, see, she's
Yeah,
mediocre."
going in as a songwriter for someone else, then you have all these other eyes. But with your project, with you and Vinny, it's like you didn't want people to go, oh, well, yeah, we'll sign them because we know that there's
Well, at least
this.
make a little money on it or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, yeah, right.
I
But
don't
it's
know.
like we don't know who these people are. This song just
Vinny and I just
these
wanted it
demos
was
are good.
more precious. Vinny and I just wanted to know if this stuff was any good or bad. Like even if the reaction was bad because people, you know, don't like me or whatever, we would never have known if those opinions were genuine or not. Right. We just
Mhm.
wanted to control for the variable of like, at least for a little while, let's see if anybody what's the actual organic response to this stuff if it's just an indie band that exists. And it's not about pretending that I made it on my own. I think that I think that anyone making it is just in whatever sense you want to put that, always has luck involved. It had luck involved when my father was doing it. Like he could have worked as hard as he worked, but no one was buying what he was selling, and that's that. And he would be a school teacher today. So
Right.
I think luck is right place, right time, right thing is involved with any media or art that you come out there with. And so I just don't believe in this sort of self-made. I think people work very hard and then luck meets opportunity. And I have a lot of opportunity and a lot of luck. I was very lucky. So nothing left to do but just acknowledge that and just work hard enough to earn it. So that's
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. I heard Dermont Kennedy say once that he's like, you're good at something, right? And it's like, how long are you willing to, you know, just know that you're good at it until people start caring and you can actually make it a career. It's like you can know for a long time and then just wait it out. And like you said, like with your dad, he's obviously super talented, but what if it didn't happen for him and then he's a school teacher and
what
then
if
this
rock
is
and
never
roll
a
wasn't a
thing?
trendy music, right?
Yeah.
What if he was
Right.
one time where like that genre didn't really, you know, no one really cared about that genre. Then he'd be in a little
Right.
thing. Whatever. I also there's this guy named Jack Quaid. He's an actor, and he's
Hmm.
Dennis Quaid's
Dennis Quaid's brothers or yeah,
son, I think.
son. Okay.
Right? But
That makes sense.
he's in a big show, and like he, you know, the nepo baby conversation came up, and he goes, "Yeah, I am extremely lucky." And he kind of just like he's like, "Yeah, they're right. I'm totally lucky." And he just
Right.
and
Well,
then he
it's
was
like,
like, "Yeah,"
and he's
and he's
like,
like, I try to work really hard so that I don't take advantage." And then he
right.
just
And I've been on a film set my entire life, right? So I kind of know a few things.
he goes like, "My last name's Quaid. I'm not an idiot. I know what's going on." And and,
Uh,
uh, and he's like, "I just try to work really hard and try to be good at my job, and that's
yeah.
all he can do." And I was like, Yeah. I've heard a lot of people in my position who sound really terrible, or like really awful people, and I don't blame them for that. I think they've been in a crazy world, but
Sure.
I think you go crazy.
Um,
I think it's
yeah,
nice to see.
isn't that when Nick Cage changed his last name because he didn't want to be associated? He's kind of a
Yes,
nepo
that's
baby
right.
too, right?
It's from summer. Anyway,
Yeah.
Vinny's sick of talking about this, and I am too. So.
Sorry. But well, now I want to get to the okay. So 5 years go by, you've got the record deal, the EP's coming out, and it's how about this video that you guys decided to put out yesterday? Like, was it a lot of thought? Like, how are we gonna do this? I mean, the video is just, Nick, you going, hey, we've been doing this. This is the thing. Um, Going into that, when did you decide it's time to tell everybody?
Vin, you want to take it? I don't know. We just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was always kind of a conversation about when the right time would be to do it. And I think at a certain point, we were waiting for something to happen that only we were in control of happening, which is moving the needle forward in any way. And I think it didn't matter anymore to keep ourselves disguised. Like the music was out, we'd done shows, we had been validated more or less in the way we wanted to be validated. And now it's like, okay, well, there's no reason not to now. And I think it'll allow us to actually promote our project fully like everyone else on the planet can. And we can just pretend as if, not pretend as if, but act exactly like it doesn't matter. He's just another person,
I think it doesn't matter actually. I mean,
yeah,
I think a
exactly.
lot.
That's what I'm saying.
A
It doesn't
lot of
matter.
people don't give a fuck, frankly, and that's good. They shouldn't. They should care about if they like the song or not. It really doesn't matter who's fucking who's behind it. I think there is a movement now to not care about the face behind, at least in the indie world. A lot of bands I love, they don't really throw their big mugs or their fashion choices out in front. They lead with artwork, or like we love the band Grizzly Bear. I mean, how recognizable are those faces, or like
Right.
arcade environment? It's more about the if you like the stuff or not. You either hear the song and you like it or you don't. And I think Vinny's right. We got selfishly, we got what we wanted out of that experiment. People liked it, and we were like, oh, this is nice. And like I feel like now we can just be normal people.
Yeah. This is our
And
band.
yeah,
Promote your stuff.
we got what we wanted, and we were like, oh, people do like it. All right, maybe we're onto something. Maybe we should just give this a real shot.
Love it, man. Well, you put Mob as the new one, right? That's the newest single that just came out.
Yeah, and there's an
And
EP coming out on October
but the
25th.
EP, the EP's coming out like in a couple weeks then, right?
Yeah, with more new stuff. But yeah, that's the latest single.
Okay. Well, I want to hear about the EP. Tell me about the EP. How many songs? Does it sound similar to what
Any
you've
Ferra?
already heard?
What about it? What about the EP?
Is it similar to like what we've heard already as far as like Mob, and is it in that same vibe of the songs
The
that
EP's
you've been putting out?
is basically been released throughout this year, and we're completing it with the song and
Okay.
an extra song, right, Nick?
Yeah, there's one extra, and then a bonus, like an instrumental track, and then a couple we were thinking of including. We're not sure, but it'll be like the three singles we had before this point. So Mob and like the two others before.
Oh, okay.
And then there'll be another song, maybe two other songs, and then maybe others. But yeah, we're compiling and then adding.
Love it.
And it's essentially like we're just trying to bundle it up into another project so we can move on to starting to plan the release for an album.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure you've been working on songs.
We have so much music, and
right?
I think some of the music we haven't even really, it's close to being finished, but we haven't really finished it because everything that is done hasn't been put out yet. So almost will help us clear mental space, creative space to finish other stuff, knowing that like, okay, cool, this other stuff is out there and being listened to. So now we can finalize the other stuff.
And Mob is actually a much older one. I think that vocal take is, how long ago we recorded that? Years ago. We just had that one in the vault for a while.
Wow. So a lot of the stuff that's coming out or is out has been during that period of time that you've been working on the songs, like over this 5-year period.
It's all over the place. I mean, Mob is one of the oldest ones, and then the one that's coming out next, one of the next new ones for the EP was recorded like within the past few months.
Oh wow.
There's two songs next to each other that have like a huge gap between when they were made. I think we just decided to put him out. I don't know. We just kind of like, it felt right. But yeah, Mob is one of the older ones. I think it was when we first started thinking about this
Wow.
project as its own thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
And then
right. We made it when my studio was in the garage.
Yeah, it had a different name and a different vocal take, and we
Yeah.
made the changes to it. But yes, we made it in the garage. That's right.
Yeah.
We made it at the time of 11/8, actually, which is
It was
so
within the same era as that.
far
Yeah.
the most popular song. But
yeah, that's
ever.
a huge. Yeah, huge. I love the orchestral version of that song. I think that's a really good.
Thanks so much. Yeah, that's my
Good.
favorite too.
Shout out to Jesse Hagan. He's the one that did the strings on that. We're definitely going to work with him again. We've got a couple in the bag with him that we're going to put out soon. And he's
Awesome.
a genius. He turns that shit over so quickly.
So fast.
It's great. More quickly than we turn over like a very basic singer-songwriter track. He'll give us full orchestral arrangement. And like, hey, I did this over the weekend. I'm like,
Damn, that's awesome. That's so awesome. Are you gonna tour the project at all, or what are you guys thinking for that?
I think that's going to be circumstantial based off opportunity. As someone who works in the touring industry, it's very expensive to do, and it's not something that is really useful these days unless you're at a certain level of success already. So I think we need to break through the noise and get past a certain stage before we start hitting the road and playing shows. Now, that being said, if there's opportunities to open up for someone where we can put ourselves in front of new faces, that's always the most beneficial. But again, it's going to be circumstantial. For now, I think we'll keep putting music out, focusing on promoting it and playing shows locally to get out there more.
and I would take his opinion seriously because he literally does this for a living. So here's another stroke of luck for me, is that I decided to partner up with someone who eventually became the owner of a touring and studio company and management company. So I'm like, cool. So
He sees the numbers already. Yeah.
like, can I use the studio for free? And he's like, well, yeah, it's our project. And I go, oh, thank God.
Yeah, we've been so lucky to be able to utilize my space to rehearse for free, record for free gear,
Talk about luck.
from personnel and stuff like that I get to work with a lot. So been really lucky. We did a secret show in 2021 with a bunch of my peers and colleagues helping us put the show together. It was really awesome.
We collected phones in bags, like
really.
yeah. So nobody has footage but us. And,
the entire audience was actually looking forward the whole time and not at their phones. It was amazing.
Crazy.
I was gonna say that you probably wouldn't see that ever again unless you do that.
Yeah, but
awesome.
I think in terms of that just hitches onto the conversation because I'm lucky in a lot of ways, and that I partnered up with him and not just a random guy. I'm incredibly lucky. The stuff we get to put out, the level of polished it looks, I think a lot of people would attribute that to me, and it's actually 100% Vinnie, because without his resources, none of that stuff would look as amazing as it does. I mean, his company is, Vinnie is the true bootstrap story. He created this thing on his own. Look, he's blushing. He created this thing, the Beehive company, on his own, and it has grown into a fully mainstream touring and management company that works with the biggest artists on earth. And I get to benefit from his wealth of resources. I mean, there's a shoot space he uses for live shows for like A-list artists that I get to shoot, we get to play live in. So our live performance videos and our music videos look incredibly polished because of his resources. So it's just luck there. Just got lucky. Then I got this guy instead of some other LA douchebag.
I love it. Well, I love what you guys are doing. I hope you could. I'm in Nashville now. I was in San Diego, but hopefully you make it out here and do a show. That'd be cool.
I love Nashville. We recorded something recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so you
can't talk about yet, but early in the new year we'll tell you. It's all pretty much done.
Hell yeah, I'm excited. Well, I appreciate both of you doing this. Thank you so much. I have one more question. I want to know if I can get an answer from both of you. If you have any advice to aspiring artists.
I feel like we need to give ourselves advice because we are aspiring artists. But you know what I mean? Like we're the ones that need the advice. But if I was to give anyone advice, I guess it would be just make sure the music that you're writing sound is good and enjoyable and is something you're proud of when it's just you singing and playing one instrument, and don't hide behind all the production and all the sounds of modern music. I learned that from a buddy named Tobias Jesso. He was like, if my song is good on piano when I'm singing, then it's a good song.
Love it. What about you, Nick?
I would say I'm in no position to give anyone advice. I think my situation is unique, and I mean, you look at what James Blake and a lot of people are talking about in terms of the unfair conditions that are out there. I think it's a Wild West moment. My sister just took me to the SONA Awards. It's this sort of songwriter association, and I think a lot of people outside the industry aren't aware of how unfair the conditions are, especially for songwriters. I didn't know that they did. I mean, there's this whole movement just to give songwriters a point on their own song that they made for somebody. And I think people outside of music will go, wait a second, somebody who wrote a hit song doesn't necessarily get a piece of that hit song. And I go, yeah, often not, actually. And almost it takes the biggest songwriter in the world to have enough weight to demand that. And so I think there's a huge shift right now of exposing the way in which people who create music in the first place, the very product that giant companies like Spotify make their money off of, are not getting a slice of the pie that they made. So if my advice is maybe get involved with an association like SONA and band together and maybe defend other songwriters. I think because not everybody, I'm incredibly lucky. I have time and space to create an artistic project for art's sake and all that bullshit. I don't think that's the norm. I think most people have to worry about their next meal and livelihood. And I think you're stronger together than you are on your own. So I think maybe just hold each other tight. And if you're not allowed to union up, which songwriters are not, do what you can. I mean, defend your other songwriters' pieces and demand your piece of the pie. That's the only thing I would suggest, because I just see even Soph and her peers are getting, they're working their ass off. They're making something that everybody likes, right? That's going platinum or multiple, whatever, billions of streams, and they get a one-time fee and then see you later, bye. And I think in any other work that would be kind of insane to think, like you create this thing that everybody wants and you don't get a piece of it is crazy. So I think that's going to change, and people like James Blake who have big platforms are helping it change by bringing attention to it. But I think follow people like that maybe and link arms.